Hi everybody, welcome back. It's Kevin at Bear Creek. February 2nd, 2020. And you know what that means. It's Groundhog Day. So rise and shine campers. It's that time of the year where we need to start thinking about our plans for the 2020 beekeeping season. Whether Punxsutawney Phil comes out today and sees his shadow and runs back in, or he doesn't see his shadow, if there's 6 more weeks of winter or 4 more weeks of winter or whatever it is, now is the time, and it signals the start of us needing to think about spring, thinking ahead about our plans for beekeeping, and that's what I'm doing. So I wanted to start this video out by talking about becoming self-sustainable in your apiary and planning for that in the future. And that's what this is about. It's the start of beginning to think about spring, about your future in the beekeeping yard. There's 2 guys that I think in this industry that I can use as an example. There's lots of guys out there that are doing this that might not have the presence on YouTube or lecture circuit or anything like that. So I can't point to them, but there's plenty of them out there, trust me. But Michael Palmer, Ian Stepler, those are 2 guys that are genius at this beekeeping thing. And they're genius, I think, for this one fact alone, and that is both have learned to become self-sustainable in their apiaries. And what I mean by that, Michael used to buy packages all the time and buy queens and all that, and he learned that, why am I buying all this stuff when I have all the resources I need right here? I can create my own queens, better queens, from his survivor stock. Ian Stepler has learned it the exact same thing by grafting, and he used to bring in queens every year for his nucleus colonies, and he brought in somebody that can help him do the grafting and manage his program for his queen rearing program. He doesn't sell the queens, he uses them to be self-sustainable. And that's what we can do as backyard beekeepers, as hobby beekeepers. And I'm talking to those of us that have a goal of, having more than 2 hives, having more than 5 hives or something like that. It's for people that, want to have 10, 15, 20 on up hives in their apiary, or apiaries, as it were. Becoming self-sustainable should be your goal, and it should be something that you should start planning. Hey, it's Groundhog Day. Today is the day. How many hives do you got? What do you want to do with them? What's in each one of them? Are they older queens, newer queens? What are you going to turn the younger queens into? What are you going to turn the newer queens into? You want honey from how many hives? So those are the hives that you concentrate on creating honey from. These are the hives that I want to concentrate on breaking down because they're older and creating nucleus colonies from them that can populate your cell builders and your mating nucleus colonies, on and on and on and on. Right now, I am hiving. I have roughly 20 hives. 10 are in full-size colonies, and roughly 10 are nucleus colonies. So I have to make a determination, a plan of attack, what I want to accomplish this year and what I want to do with each one of those hives. Now, I can do all the planning I want right now, and the bees still have to survive another 2 months of winter or early spring, and that's when I tend to lose the most hives, is actually from now until the end of March. That's really the key. Snow starts building up, blocking off lower entrances, moisture builds up, or they start running out of stores and they can starve out. So you got to really be on on top of that, if you haven't prepared them well. Now I'm first to admit that I went away hunting in most of October, and well, I was actually working most of October, and then I left, and I didn't get them prepared near as much as I wanted to. So I put mountain camp on all my hives. Checked them the other day; they're still doing well. I put one sugar brick on one small hive because they're up there. I was worried about that hive because I didn't think that they stored a lot of honey. But they're up there, and I gave them a sugar brick, and they've consumed probably half of the 10 pounds that I gave them already. So I gave them another pound sugar brick, and that should take them through the end of February at least, and then I'll do another check at the end of February. We've been fortunate this winter. In November we had an Arctic blast where it was 15 below. It was colder than anything in November. But since that second week in November, it's been relatively mild, and it's been good for the bees. It's hovered around between, in the 20s, teens to 20s at night. It's been getting up close to 30 during the day, and I looked at the forecast for the entire month of February, and I don't see it getting changing, at least not yet. There's no Arctic blast in the forecast, so that's been really good for my bees. So anyways, right now I have about 20 hives, 10 of which are in full-size colonies, 10 of which are in nucleus colonies. So I have to decide what I want to do. Now things will change, some will die out, which I will have to adjust my plans on the fly. But this year I wanted to get more into raising my own queens, grafting. And so that's going to take resource to do. And several of my hives have new queens, like these two behind me over here and my nucleus colony over here. These are all queens which were the one on the far right there is from a virgin that I purchased, probably the end of July, somewhere around there. So it didn't, she wasn't laying all summer long. So she is still a new queen, and I can use her as a production hive to make honey. The same with this hive here. Again, this is a hive here from one of my own created queens. So again, this is a newer queen, and that one there is also from a virgin Carniolan queen that I put in late in the season as well. I have one hive over there that came from a package, and that's a colony that made me a little bit of honey last year, but it's going to be an older queen now. So that's a colony that I'm going to earmark if it makes it, and it's a pretty powerful hive right now. If it makes it, that's a colony that I'm going to earmark to break apart into nucleus colonies. And what I might end up doing is I'm going to, in the last couple of years, I haven't used my 4x4 side-by-side 4-frame boxes, 4x4 configuration, double 4x4 nucleus colonies. And I'm going to break that up and put that in there, and that way I can use that hive rather than use it as a honey hive, because she might not be producing near as much brood, so the colony won't be as strong to provide honey for me, but she can provide brood for a resource for me stealing brood from, to make mating nukes from, or to populate some other production hives that I might have. So I'm going to split that hive up. That's one I earmarked for that. I have other nucleus colonies that I'm going to with new queens. I have the Michael Palmer queens in there, and like I said, I have the virgin, or the well, I call them virgin, but they're the Carniolan, and I want to move those into bigger hives. This one behind me, I'm going to be moving this into a production hive. I'm probably going to bring that over to the farm, and it's going to be a honey producer. Now, my older queen's surviving stock, even though, and the reason I'm not getting rid of the queen, now she's a survivor queen, and I can utilize her. I'm going to be giving her empty frame, foundationless frame, and having the bees create more drone comb. That'll provide plenty of drones in the area for my mating program. I'm not going to probably breed from her for as a breeder queen. I'll probably pick one of my virgin Carneolans for that project, and maybe one of Michael Palmer's queens for that project to graft off of. Those two breeder queens. So it's always good to have a plan. Now, the other day I went and I tagged, so I wouldn't forget. I went through all my videos to try to identify which hives had the virgin Carneolans that I put in. So I marked those. Which hives did I put the Michael Palmer queens in, and I want to mark those so that I know that those are going to be new queens. I just put push pins, colored push pins, green with a red dot. That signifies my Carneolans, and I'll use a different color for the Michael Palmer ones. But I want to identify, those hives so that when I, get to it this spring, I can jump on it, and I know what I want to do with each one of those hives. The Michael Palmer hives, those are in nucleus colonies, and those I will put into production hives for making honey, and then I will also probably steal a frame every now and then for grafting. And I'm not stealing the whole frame for any length of time. I'll just be stealing it just to pull 10 grafts off of it, and then I'll be giving it back to them. I will have to I will need a lot of resources for creating cell builders for my to house my grafts. So I have to think in terms of that. So that's why a lot of my production colonies, I had a couple swarm hives this past year, and if they make it, they're also going to be split up, put into nucleus colonies, so that, and they're going to become brood factories essentially, so that I can steal lots of brood, cap brood from them, and create my cell builders or whatever I need for that aspect of it. And then once that's done, my plan is to cannibalize those cell builders into my 2-frame mating nukes. So I want to take the colonies that are older, the queens that are older, and move them into 4-frame boxes or nucleus colony boxes, split them up into several nucleus colonies actually. And if I have to bring in some more queens, so be it. But I'd rather not, rather have them create their own queens. But 2018 queens, even the ones that started in May last year, those are the ones I'm marking to break down into nucleus colonies, and I'm not going to throw away the queens unless I see that they're producing some chalk brood or anything like that, because that can happen, and those queens gone. Those are the ones that you want to get rid of right away. Don't waste your time. Requeen it as soon as you can. If you have to bring in a few queens from outside, well, that's what you got to do. Unfortunately, it's hard to find queens. If you want to be self-sustainable and make all your own queens and everything like that, but let's say you lose some colonies and you want to, or you have some colonies that you want to get rid of the queens on. You have to order queens, and you're kind of at the mercy. You have to order it now, because if you order it in May, well, the queens are going to be gone, and you ain't going to get it until mid-July. You're not going to get your queens because they're out. Everybody's out of queens. That's another reason to be self-sustainable. So You know, you might have to do some walkaway splits on it. The older queens, if the hive, you know, if the queen is failing and the hive supersedes her, let them supersede her. That'd be great, and then you'll have a fresh new queen and a fresh new colony, and you know, you can turn that into a production hive next year. So that's just an option for you, but always have a plan. Now I have 21 two-frame mating nukes. Is that enough for me? Uh, I'm thinking that I probably would like to build some more. Um, right now, funds are a little tight, so I gotta you know, hold off from that. This time of the year, it's really easy to sit on the couch with a credit card and buy things that you really don't need. And that's the last thing I want to do, is run out and go buy a bunch of lumber. And right now I'm just going to hold off for a little bit. Starting a new job this coming week, actually, and from what I understand, it's gonna take a lot of, I have to put in a lot of hours every week. It's good money, but I am gonna put in a lot of hours, so I have to dedicate myself essentially to a 7-day rotation for my grafting and queen rearing. That's the way I have to do it. I'm not going to be working on Sunday, so Sunday is going to be the day when I'm going to have to do my grafting, do my cell builders, and you know, do my mating nukes, and essentially do all my beekeeping chores on Sundays, because it seems like the rest of the week I'm not going to be making it back in time to do a lot of the beekeeping that I really want to do. But sometimes we got to do things we don't want to do to you know, keep the roof over our head and the heat on in the wintertime. So, but it's a new chapter in my life, so I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, that's what I want you to start thinking in terms of for your apiary. What is your plan for the coming year? Hey, write it in the comments below. I'd love to read about it, what your plans are. And you know, if you're also a video blogger like me, and you know, videotape it, and I'd love to see you know, your progression on how things are working in your apiary. And if you're not, well, then just, you know, write me a comment and on how things are going for you. I love to read new things about how what I'm doing can benefit or affect you and your apiary. Again, you have to do what's best for your apiary. Don't think you have to copy me at all. And but just want everybody to just think in terms of what is your plans for the coming year. Do you want to, you know, if you only got a couple of hives, you don't need to go through this rigmarole that I'm doing. When I got into beekeeping, all I wanted was a couple of hives, and look at me, I've got 20 some hives. I had up to 30 last year. I went and worked for a commercial beekeeper for the summer, and I kind of went a little bit bee crazy, and I really honestly thought that after the beekeeping thing fiasco, actually, that I'd lose my interest in it. But I actually gained a new vigor for becoming my own style of beekeeper. Um, Learned a lot about what not to do, but really looking forward to kind of seeing if I can make it successful, because my goal is to, and I've told you this before, is to become self-sustainable and create a stock of bees that can survive the winter up here, and that I can provide nucleus colonies to others in the region that I can start selling. I've never sold one bee in all my years of beekeeping so far. I'm not at that. I need I need to keep all the hives that I can, so that I can keep trying to do what my plans are for doing it. But my end goal is not to sell queens, trade queens with everybody in the region. As hobbyist beekeepers, we don't have the number of hives needed to create that self-sustaining apiary without getting some inbreeding going. So what you have to do is trade, and I've said this before, find other guys that are doing the exact same thing in your region and trade queens with them. Michael Palmer and Ian Stepler, I keep using those two guys as an example, but those two guys are geniuses. They learned that they could grow better queens themselves, and they don't have to shell out, 20-30 bucks a queen, or they're not buying packaged bees, or they're not buying nucleus colonies. They've learned to be self-sustainable in their apiaries, and that's what I want. That's what I want myself to do, and that's what I want all hobby beekeepers to set their goals on. If you only want 1 or 2 hives, for you and your wife to monkey around with in the backyard, and to teach your kids about beekeeping, and you're happy with, buying bees every year, go with God. Seriously, that's probably the best bet for you, is to just keep buying packages and nucleus colonies from Florida or Georgia or California or Texas. But if you're interested in, selling nucleus colonies that can make it through winter, selling nucleus colonies that can provide honey to people in your region, and, making your own honey as well, but being able to overwinter them and having them survive in a more than 50% survive, then think in terms of creating your own bees, creating your own queens, and you can do it. It can be done. I'm driven to do this, and I really can't wait. Like I said, Ian and Mike are good examples of that, and that's, I'm not going to get 1,500 hives, but if I can get somewhere around 30 to 50 hives, and I can sell half every year, I've got a good sideline business to make a few extra dollars for a little bit extra work in something that I love to do. So, Groundhog Day, I hope that that this means that spring is on its way early for you and me, and our bees can get out and and plants and flowers start blooming a little earlier this year for us. And let me know what your plans are for the upcoming year. Till next time, take care. And remember, all beekeeping is local.